Yo, what's going on, Kicks Army? Today and tomorrow are going to be really busy for me for the next few days, so I'll either be doing off the grid videos or sneaker art videos. On top of that, I have a number of stencil requests that I got through the site that I want to get done, so yeah, my schedule is looking pretty packed with all that's going on, along with both work and school. But like I mentioned in yesterday's video, if you have a sneaker that you like that you don't see a stencil for on the website, send me a message on the contact tab and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. As for today's video, I'm doing a custom on some Balenciaga Triple A's. Let me know what you think of this drawing. Your comments are always greatly appreciated. Now with that being said, let's get into some much needed basketball talk. By now, we all know the trade that went down between the Spurs and the Raptors. Kawhi and Danny Green are now Raptors, and DeMar DeRozan is now a Spur. And obviously there were some other little things that went on with that trade, but that's like the bulk of what happened. And honestly, this is actually pretty crazy. Now, I'm not trying to act like Socrates or anything, but I said it a while back that I didn't think San Antonio would trade Kawhi to another team in the Western Conference. Kawhi is a top 3 to 5 player in the league easy, so to trade him to another Western Conference team would make the Spurs job a lot harder having to deal with that in the postseason. Like, it's one thing if you trade him to a team in the East and have to deal with playing against them in the finals, which I doubt will happen for either team, but it's a completely different thing to trade him to another team in the same conference that could pose a threat to you during the playoffs. Because think about it, if they were to trade him to a good team in the West, that team gets better. He's a top 3 to 5 player in the league easy. And in order to trade him, they would want to get some decent compensation back for him, which made trading him to any team in the West unlikely to happen. That being said, I do think trading him to Toronto was done out of spite and probably not the best move that could have been done, but there are some benefits for trading him for DeRozan. Last year, San Antonio only had Kawhi for 9 games, and they were still a 47-win team in the Western Conference, so they basically didn't have their best player all year, and they were still able to do very well in a stacked conference based off great coaching and player development alone. So now on top of that, you're adding DeMar DeRozan, which is a solid all-star level player to have on your team. He's certainly not as good as Kawhi, but the Spurs didn't really have Kawhi last year, and they still did well without him, so to add DeRozan would be a huge benefit to the team. On top of that, they still have the best coach in the game, and that's always a huge bonus to have, and it will suck to see the day when he stops coaching, so I'm kind of enjoying these moments while they last. Now, a part of the reason why it's so hard to get good value for Kawhi is because his camp has stated multiple times that their preference is for him to play in LA. If I'm not mistaken, he grew up in Compton, and home is home, so I can kind of understand that. Now, I'm assuming that he would be playing for the Lakers if he decided to do that, but regardless, the statement tells the other teams in the NBA that if you want to trade your assets for Kawhi, you have to handle the risk of losing him at the end of the year, unless you trade during the trade deadline for next season, which would be a huge gamble for any team, and now it's the gamble that the Raptors have to deal with. Because think about it, if the Raptors feel like it's not going to work with Kawhi around the trade deadline, who are they going to trade him to? Because if the Raptors feel like it's not going to work with Kawhi, there's also a pretty good chance that Kawhi feels like it's not going to work with the Raptors. And if he's already said that he kind of wants to play in LA, the chances are that they would have to trade him between one of the 2 Los Angeles teams. That alone limits your trade options down to 2 teams, and if those 2 teams know that they're trying to get Kawhi, obviously they're going to kind of do a little bid war for him, but it still really makes your options very limited. So this puts the Raptors in a really tight spot being such a risky move they made, but the potential payoff could be enormous. I mean, LeBron is out of the East. The king has left the East, which makes the entire conference wide open for another team to reach the finals. And if Kawhi ends up liking it there in Toronto, that could be a really good fit for him. He's much better than DeRozan, and DeRozan led the Raptors to a franchise record of 59 games last season, which just so happened to be the #1 seed in the East. Replacing DeRozan with Kawhi is a massive improvement, as Kawhi is actually capable of shooting the 3 at a higher percentage along with all the other things he's better at. On top of being just a great scorer, he's also a really athletic player, and he's pretty damn good at defense. I don't know if you guys saw that final series where he was playing up against LeBron, but LeBron had a pretty hard time going up against Kawhi. Remember, this guy is a top 5 player in the league easy. The upper echelon of players in the league are the type of players that can change the trajectory of a franchise. They're not just going to make your team a little bit better, they're going to make your team a lot better. And it's not like he's going up there alone. He has Danny Green with them, and I'm assuming that they don't have any beef between each other. If they did, that would be really, really awkward and weird, but regardless, I mean, he's going to do what he has to do. He absolutely has franchise-changing potential, so assuming he chooses to stay, the East is going to be very interesting next year. Not as good as the West, but it's still going to be very interesting. Boston, of course, is going to be a strong team. They didn't have Kyrie Irving in the playoffs, and they didn't have Gordon Hayward the entire year. Philly's going to be a really interesting team for years to come. come, they got Embiid and Simmons, and they're basically adding Markelle Fultz because they pretty much didn't have him all of last season since he kind of forgot how to shoot. I still think that's BS, but whatever. The point is he's back. I believe in a few years, Giannis is going to be one of the best players in the league, so I'm not sleeping on Milwaukee, and the Wizards now have Dwight Howard, and he's a pretty good big man. Not the same kind of Dwight he was when he was back in my Orlando Magic, but he's still Dwight Howard, so that's going to be interesting to see them at full power. And another thing that is pretty funny when you think about it, Team USA basketball starts out pretty soon with like the training camps and stuff, and the coach for Team USA is Greg Popovich. And if I'm not mistaken, both DeRozan and Kawhi are going to be practicing for that team, if not actually make the team. So that should be pretty easy to kind of see footage of that and how that whole relationship kind of breaks down, but I guess we'll have to wait to see on that. But guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button as well as that bell for post notifications for when a new video drops. Don't forget to visit KicksArt.com for all your sneaker stencil needs, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Peace!